This isn't just another space news story. What Chandrayaan-3 found on the moon is undeniably shocking. Nobel winner warns it could stop the world cold. What did India's mission uncover that's causing such a big scare? Is this the start of a serious space problem or something being kept secret? Scientists and leaders everywhere are rushing to figure out what it means, but one thing's for sure, this discovery shakes up everything we thought we knew about the moon and maybe even about us. Get ready, because the space race just got a whole lot stranger. Glimpse beneath the lunar veil. When India's Chandrayaan-3 mission touched down near the moon's south pole in August 2023, the world applauded what many considered a primarily technological achievement. After all, the headlines focused on India becoming the first country to land near this treacherous, unexplored region, one rich in shadowed craters and the tantalizing promise of water ice. But while the public gaze shifted elsewhere after the celebratory moment, what quietly began unfolding beneath the surface, both literally and metaphorically, may now demand far more attention. Among the early data relayed from the Vikram lander and its Pragyan rover, most findings seemed expected: mineral presence, soil temperature variation, and seismic readings. But within the margins of the data, in signals not immediately broadcast to the world, some scientists believe a mystery may be emerging, one that challenges our understanding of the moon's geology and potentially its history. Subsurface anomalies. Patterns that don't fit lunar expectations. Signals that behave in ways unaccounted for by known natural mechanisms. While official reports remain cautious, a number of unofficial leaks and expert whispers are beginning to point in a singular, unsettling direction, that something beneath the moon's surface doesn't belong there, or at the very least, doesn't behave the way it should. And this isn't coming solely from speculative corners. A few highly credentialed voices in the physics and space science communities have begun asking quiet, careful questions. Questions about geometry, resonance, and regularity. Questions that suggest the data might imply structures, or phenomena, that don't match any natural process currently understood. Whether these structures are artificial, alien, or simply the product of unknown lunar physics, no one is quite ready to say. Not yet. But something is stirring in the silence. And Chandrayaan-3, perhaps unintentionally, may have become the mission that pulled back the veil. Where shadows conceal more than ice of all places on the moon, the South Pole has long been regarded with a kind of hushed reverence among planetary scientists. Unlike the more familiar equatorial regions explored by Apollo missions decades ago, the southern terrain is shrouded in almost perpetual shadow, home to some of the coldest known places in the solar system. These shadowed craters, untouched by sunlight for billions of years, are thought to hide water ice, one of the most valuable resources for future lunar colonization. It was this promise that brought Chandrayaan-3 to this enigmatic region. But it may also be the very reason the mission stumbled upon something no one was fully prepared to explain. Sources close to ISRO have quietly hinted at certain, inconclusive patterns detected beneath the regolith during Vikram's subsurface thermal analysis. These weren't necessarily part of the original mission scope. Vikram and Pragyan were designed more for basic surface experiments than deep geophysical probing. But early in the mission, when Pragyan paused near the rim of a shallow depression and began scanning the surrounding soil, something in the data changed: an anomaly in thermal consistency, a fluctuation in return signal, something almost structured. Unlike typical loose rock layers or fragmented basalt, this signal suggested abrupt shifts, flat, even boundaries where the moon's natural layering should be jagged and chaotic. The lunar crust, especially in the south, is ancient and heavily bombarded. It shouldn't be clean. It shouldn't be orderly. And yet, something in those scans reportedly resembled a planar structure, a form too regular to be dismissed outright. Publicly, ISRO remained silent. Their reports focused on verified mineral presence: sulfur, aluminum, titanium, and the stunning footage of the Pragyan rover's tread marks in untouched dust. But in internal circles, murmurs began. Did they just pick up a naturally occurring lava shelf? Or something else? Scientists and engineers debated. Most argued for caution. Data anomalies could easily result from signal interference, temperature-induced drift, or even micrometeorite activity affecting the sensor housing. But a few voices in the room didn't let go. The structure wasn't just geometrically odd. It repeated. The deeper scans, made during Vikram's final transmission window before lunar nightfall, suggested symmetry. 3 patterns. Spaced almost evenly. All buried beneath a meter of dust. Was it a glitch? Or had they just touched the edge of something built? Seeing patterns, the moon has long been a mirror, not just of sunlight, but of human imagination. For centuries, poets and astronomers alike have looked up and filled that silent disk with gods, ghosts, and even dreams of alien civilizations. In the modern age, where data flows faster than mystery can hide, the idea of something unexpected under the moon's surface stirs a different kind of wonder and fear. After Chandrayaan-3's return data was quietly passed on to independent analysts in late 2024, a small community of researchers began dissecting the anomalous thermal and seismic readings. According to several insider reports, it wasn't just the geometry of the subsurface patterns that raised eyebrows, it was their coherence. In a natural world of randomness and geological chaos, the moon, especially at its south pole, should resemble the inside of a shattered sphere, uneven, cratered, violently layered over billions of years. But the 3 signal strata reportedly observed beneath Prajan's track lines had a frequency, an almost harmonic spacing between them. One physicist, speaking off-record to a regional science journal, described it as echoes of intent. That phrase stuck. Were these just echoes of ancient volcanic flows? Could the patterns be the result of molten lava cooling in bizarre but ultimately natural formations? Certainly possible. But others argued that even in such scenarios, the uniformity of the signal was statistically unlikely. One expert, who worked on ground-penetrating radar for lunar analog tests in Ladakh, put it plainly: nature doesn't build with rulers. Someone, or something, else might. This is where the speculation sharpens into a blade. Because if these buried signals are more than coincidence, if they suggest even the faintest trace of artificiality, then the implications ripple far beyond science. They brush against philosophy, history, even faith. Of course, one cannot ignore the ever-present danger of pareidolia, the human tendency to perceive order where none exists. We see faces in clouds, cities on Mars, pyramids in shattered rock. Are these readings just another instance of our brains connecting dots that were never meant to be connected? Possibly. But the troubling part is that this time, the dots aren't visual illusions. They're embedded in data, raw, repeatable, and still unexplained. What do we do when math, not myth, begins to whisper? If it's real, let's suspend disbelief for a moment. Let's assume that the anomalous data collected by Chandrayaan-3 is not an error, not a coincidence, not pareidolia, but a genuine signal, some form of structure or pattern buried beneath the moon's south pole that cannot be naturally explained. What then? The first and most immediate reaction wouldn't come from the scientific community. It would come from governments. Space, for all its beauty, is also geopolitics. And the moon is no longer the quiet frontier of Cold War dreams, it's a contested zone of economic interest, national pride, and future survival. The presence of water ice at the lunar poles makes them invaluable for long-term human presence. Whoever controls that water controls fuel, life support, and leverage. So if a nation, notably India, were to uncover something significant beneath the surface of the moon, something unprecedented and possibly non-terrestrial, the race to interpret, investigate, and claim it would begin almost immediately. Behind the scenes, one can imagine classified meetings. Space agencies quietly reaching out to one another. NASA asking for raw data. China activating its Changi lunar archives. Russia calling on its orbital surveillance. And within ISRO itself, decisions would need to be made about what to release, what to withhold, and how to frame a discovery that could shift the balance of both science and power. The scientific implications are staggering. If the anomalous readings represent a constructed object, or a phenomenon that shows signs of non-random engineering, it would force a rewrite of lunar history. Questions would multiply faster than answers. Who made it? When? Why here? And most pressingly, is it still active? The presence of artificial geometry beneath the moon's surface would crack open new fields of research overnight. Lunar archaeology, subsurface engineering, interplanetary anthropology, even particle physics, if the anomaly is emitting any sort of energy signature that contradicts known laws. Grants would be approved, satellites redirected, entire mission plans rewritten. But the philosophical tremors would reach further. For centuries, humanity has believed itself to be alone, or at least, unchallenged, in the immediate solar neighborhood. A discovery of intentional construction beneath our moon would upend that belief. Not necessarily because it proves the existence of aliens, but because it proves the possibility of something older, smarter, and perhaps long gone, but not forgotten. The quiet war of information that might follow such a discovery would be unlike anything before. Not with weapons, but with press releases, scientific debates, and cultural upheaval. Because no matter how carefully such a truth is handled, if it is, in fact, the truth, it will not stay buried for long. And so Chandrayaan-3, launched as a humble, national milestone, might become the match that lit the next age of space exploration.